Most people think starting a cake business is about being good at cakes, but the part that actually catches people out is something nobody warns you about. Now, most beginners might concentrate on their decorating skills, on getting better tools, or improving their cake designs. And they assume that once their cakes look good enough, that everything else will fall into place. But what actually catches cake makers off guard has very little to do with talent and a lot to do with what happens around the cake. So once you understand that shift, taking orders starts to make a lot more sense. Hello and welcome back to our Coffee and Cake series. I'm Yvette from Enchanted Cakes by Yvette. And I've had my custom cake business for 10 years and now I get to help teach cake makers how to build beautiful professional cakes that hold up in real kitchens and on real delivery days. So from foundations and structure through to buttercream, ganache, and all kinds of decorative techniques. So if you like calm, practical cake tips that covers both how your cake looks and how they hold up, make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's exactly what I share here. So for today, I'm going to walk you through 5 things that commonly surprise cake makers when they start to take their orders. Okay, even small orders just for family and friends. And I'll go through each one and then we'll recap them at the end so you can see how they all connect together. Okay, so the first one is pressure. Pressure changes how everything feels. The first surprise is how differently making a cake feels once somebody else is waiting for that end result. The cake itself may not be a harder design, but the pressure is. You have deadlines, you have expectations and responsibilities, and they all show up at once. And that mental workload can really change how you work. So if things suddenly feel stressful, it doesn't mean you're not ready. It just means that the context around making that cake has changed. So secondly, most problems do show up while decorating. They're not actually a problem because of the decorating though. So this can catch a lot of people off guard. So when a cake leans, bulges, or feels a bit unstable, most cake makers might assume this has happened during the decorating. But in reality, those problems usually start way earlier during the cutting, the layering, or the filling setup of your cake. But because the issue doesn't show up straight away, it can feel a bit random, like what just went wrong? This is why so many cake makers feels like they're constantly fixing things instead of enjoying that wonderful decorative process. Now, thirdly, delivery can change everything. Even if you're only making cakes for family or friends, the moment that cake has to leave your kitchen, everything feels different. New questions arise. How will this hold up? Should I finish at home or the venue? What if something shifts? Delivery adds a whole nother mental load. Okay, not that it's impossible, it most definitely is, but just because it introduces uncertainty. So this is often where confidence starts to wobble. So let me know below if delivery day does increase your stress levels. Okay, we can chat about that together. Number 4 is boundaries, and they matter more than people expect. If you're new to making cakes for others, you'll often say yes to everything, okay? So this can mean rush orders, it can mean last minute changes, and it can also lead to underpricing for these things too, okay? Because you literally don't have enough time to really think them through, okay? So not because you don't value your time, but just because you haven't yet got the systems or boundaries in place to support them. So over time, this can lead to stress and burnout, even when the cake themselves come out perfectly and the client's very happy, okay? And so number 5 is most people can think they're behind when they're actually just missing some structure. So it's easy to scroll online, keep looking and, feeling like everyone else has it all figured out. But what you don't see are the systems underneath that make things feel calm and repeatable. So most cake makers aren't behind, they're just guessing where that structure would help. So if we go over the 5, so if taking orders are feeling harder than you expected, it can usually just be because 1, pressure changes how you work. Okay. Number 2, problems actually start way earlier than you're thinking they are. 3, Delivery can add a whole new layer of uncertainty to the mix that you haven't been trained for. 4, boundaries aren't in place yet. Okay, so you are still constantly taking in last minute things and making changes. And 5, the structure is missing from your business, not the skill. So none of this means you're not capable. It just means your cakes and your process need some support. Okay, so if cake stability is where you think you need some extra support, just comment the word stable or click on the link below, and I'll pop my free cheat sheet in. So it just gives you some ideas on how to make sure that your cake is nice and stable from the time you make it to the time you deliver. And if delivery is something that you need a little bit of stress reduction in, I've also popped a quick checklist down below as well. So you can either comment setup or just click the link in the description. Okay, so if you are looking for some more calm cake guidance, I'll see you in the next video. So just make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me today, and go forth and make beautiful, calm cakes.